left the state of Florida, and I know those guys got in and started working as soon as it was possible. I know Manatee and Sarasota's down. I think both are probably 90% restored, and FPL thinks by tomorrow you're going to have pretty much everybody. So that's very rapid, and we appreciate what they've done to be able to do it. And the co-ops are 100% complete with their restoration. So that's really, really good. A lot of times you do these, you have the big utilities, private companies do it first, and then the co-ops will lag a little bit, or at least that's maybe been in the past, but they knocked out a lot of restorations very rapidly. So good job on that. We still have Pinellas has about 17% that are out, and then Hillsboro's a little bit more than that, but I think both of the companies, TECO and Duke, have a pretty aggressive timeline for completion in those areas as well. So thanks for everybody who came and pre-staged. Obviously, you still have the remaining 3% of the state, and I know they're working hard to do it. But to have 2 hurricanes hit like this and have to do the restoration was not easy, and those guys have done a great job. We also, being here at Port Manatee, I'm going to have an announcement here with what we're going to do to be able to help things. But from the various ports, so since reopening fuel deliveries following the storm, 2,500 trucks have deployed from Port Tampa Bay to bring fuel to the region. They've unloaded a total of 5 million gallons of fuel from Port Tampa. That's 2 million more than they would usually do over a similar period of time. And then here in Manatee, and we'll say a little bit more about this because they weren't supposed to do anything by now, over 300,000 gallons and 60,000 gallons of diesel have been deployed, and they're doing more as we speak. Port Canaveral, because you had power outages and also damage at some of the West Coast ports, Port Canaveral over the on our East Coast has surged fuel, including to this region. So they've done 12 million gallons of fuel since the storm, and that is double their normal output. So that is something that is making a difference, and you're continuing to see more and more gas stations as they get power, also get the fuel. It's not 100%, but they're making good progress. Now, we have recognized that we want to get this fuel in as quickly as possible. It's obviously not the state that runs where gas goes. This is all private industry, but we have been able to help escort fuel with Florida Highway Patrol, as well as some of our local law enforcement, to be able to get it where it needs to go as soon as possible. So we've done over 100 tankers have been escorted just by Florida Highway Patrol since Milton made landfall. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. And that's great, and that's good progress. Those guys are doing it, and we'll say some stuff about what we're going to do here. We also understand that we needed to make sure that we were doing our part to surge fuel where we could, and so we have done that in a variety of ways. But one of the ways we've done that is we've actually opened up our own fuel sites over the weekend. So today we have fuel for the public. They're not even charging you. Free gas. Imagine that. Helps to have a budget surplus. When you have 12 fuel sites at the following, and this is till 7 o'clock tonight: Tropicana Rail Yard in Bradenton, Plant City Stadium in Plant City, Central Lot Parking Lot in St. Pete, South Florida State College, DeSoto Center in Arcadia, Charlotte Sports Park in Port Charlotte, Suncoast Technical College in Northport, St. Pete College Tarpon Springs, East Bay Raceway in Tampa, Bradenton Motorsports Park in Bradenton, Gulfview Mall in Port Richey, Wiregrass Mall in Wesley Chapel, Largo Mary Grizzle State Office in Largo in Pinellas County. So you can stay updated on fuel distribution sites by going to floridadisaster.org/updates. But you have those 2 sites, or those 12 sites. So we've deployed, just since Milton hit, over 2.4 million gallons of gas from our reserves. So that, all the stuff coming into the ports, Canaveral surging, Tampa surging, now Manatee getting back up and running, at least in a limited capacity, that is all just private sector how it normally does. The $2.4 million is fuel that we stockpiled in advance of the storm and then have been able to do and bring it in. Now, some of that that we've done where we had fuel centers when the storm was coming for first responder vehicles, so we wouldn't have any interruption in that. We have set up these fuel sites, and then we've also delivered gas directly to some service stations when that was something that could be helpful or appropriate. So even though we've gone through 2.4 million gallons, we've got over 1 million gallons between gas and diesel that are still on hand. We went through a lot this weekend with our fuel sites, but that's good. That's what it's for. If you have long lines at the service station, not every gas station has it. This is a relief valve where people can get their tank topped off, and so we're happy to do that. And in the entire fight, we have 500 tankers and 360 bobtail trucks that are helping to distribute with the fuel. So that's something that's good. That's something that we're happy to do, but we want to just make it so that the ports and everything are doing what they normally do and get it back to normal. And it is resolving. I'd say the demand is still higher because when people see a station open, they're all fleeing to the stations, and you get longer lines because people feel like that may be their only shot. Once that's no longer the case, I think you'll see resolve. So that's going to happen relatively short order. So today, we're here to ensure not just with the fuel, but for all the things that Port Manatee delivers, we want to ensure minimal interruption to the supply chain as possible. When you have major damage, there just is going to be some interruption. We understand that, but we've worked really hard to be able to help get them on their feet. I know Kevin and his team have been working with the port. I know they've been working with the private sector industry who is here to try to plow a way forward. This port is the primary deep water seaport in Southwest Florida. It handles 400 million gallons of transportation fuel, fruits, vegetables, appliances, construction materials, and wood for distribution across Southwest Florida, but also the greater Southeast. In 2023, Seaport Manatee supported 42,000 U.S. jobs, generated $275 million in state and local revenue, and contributed $7.3 billion in economic value to the economy. And then we had, remember last month, we had this potential strike that was going to drag on, and that would definitely have interrupted our hurricane relief for Hurricane Helene, and then it would have ended up affecting Milton. And Seaport Manatee was willing to step up, support our supply chains as other ports across the state were stopping. And so fortunately, we didn't really have to do much because they resumed work. But that could have been something that would have been really needed to do. So following Hurricane Milton, initial damage assessments indicate potential losses of over $200 million here at Seaport Manatee. Now, a lot of those losses are insured, but some components are not. Damage to the port includes the loss of 10 out of 13 on-site warehouses, 3 of the 10 port-owned docking facilities, as well as damages to their offices. The uninsured losses of the port include repairs needed for 3 damaged berths, new dredging required in state waters, repairs necessary for port security and access systems, and significant damage to the port container yard. Now, our seaports are working to mitigate impacts for any interruption in any of the other ports, and as you saw with Port Canaveral surging fuel, they'll likely continue to do that, but ultimately we want everybody back full throttle as soon as possible. So to minimize impacts to Floridians and to ensure Seaport Manatee gets back to full and efficient operations as quickly as possible, I'm today announcing that the state of Florida will provide $9.5 million to jumpstart the recovery and help repair the impacted infrastructure. This investment will include $5.5 million for emergency berth repairs and dredging in state waters, $3.5 million for immediate security needs and access control, and $500,000 to support planning activities for fortifying port infrastructure. The state will also support the port's rebuild in the following ways: by providing subject matter experts and skilled workers from FDOT, by directing the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to expedite permits for the immediate rebuild of port infrastructure, and by managing support from the Florida Division of Emergency Management and navigating the FEMA award process, and by providing personnel from the Florida National Guard to reestablish perimeter security and assisting in repairing the port fence. For every state dollar invested in seaport infrastructure, the expected return on investment for the state is $7. But even beyond that, we want to make sure that our supply chain is strong and that we get the port back to where it needs to be as soon as possible. So we're happy to be able to do this award, and I think it'll make a big difference. And I know there's a lot of other stuff that's going to be going on outside just what the state is doing. Finally, I'll just say, if you need help as an individual Floridian, the best way to do that is our Hope line, 1-833-GET-HOPE, 1-833-GET-HOPE. We've already helped over 5,000 individuals since Milton made landfall, and we've got a lot of organizations that are ready to go and help people when they're in need. And if you include the Hope bus, we've helped over 10,000 individuals with those deployments of the Hope Florida buses. So Hope buses today are located in Hillsborough at Mission Hill Church in Temple Terrace, Pinellas and Tangerine Plaza in St. Pete, and another one in Pinellas at Largo at Botanical Gardens on Almerton Road. So thank you for doing that. We also have Hope Florida teams in Zephyr Hills, Ellington, and St. Pete to support impacted communities. So I appreciate everybody for what they're doing. Those who have asked, how can I help? Well, one way you can help is the Florida Disaster Fund. So if you want to make a tax-deductible contribution, you can go to floridadisasterfund.org. This will be for both Helene and Milton relief needs, and for victims of either of those storms, or both in some cases. So far, there's been $12.2 million raised in support of both efforts. And I want to personally thank Lennar Corporation from down in South Florida, who has donated $5 million to the Florida Disaster Fund. So we appreciate that, and I know there's a lot more that are going to be ponying up to be able to help Floridians in need. So we're going to hear from some other folks, starting with Kevin Guthrie. But before we do that, I think I actually have a check, and we will go ahead and present. So you want to come up here from the port?
You better do it. I can't accept the check and shake a hand at the same time. I'll stand on this side. Thank you. I had the arm.
All right, congratulations. We got it? All right.
Thank you, Governor.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll start with Kevin Guthrie.
Hello, everyone. I'm proud of the quick, efficient work that has been done under the governor's leadership and for the partnership between our agencies as we continue to collaborate to support our residents and our businesses and our industries in their need of time, or in their time of need. Today, we are proud to announce, under the leadership of Governor DeSantis, the $3.5 million for immediate security needs and access control of Seaport Manatee. This will assist the port in navigating FEMA projects that are outside the scope of these awards. And what I mean by that is many of the awards here might be FEMA eligible, but some will not be FEMA eligible. So this will help on those that are not FEMA eligible. As the governor has already said, for every dollar the state invests, the state receives a $7 return on investment. I'm also have been directed by the governor to help remove as much red tape and bureaucracy as possible. So I'm going to designate my Deputy Executive Director, Stephanie Haupt, as your single point of contact in expediting any issues here at the port. The state continues our efforts to provide necessary resources to communities who suffer damages due to impacts from Hurricane Milton. We currently have 9 public fuel depots and over 20 points of distribution where residents can pick up water, shelf-stable meals, and other supplies. And I need to correct that. It's actually 12 public fuel depots. There are multi-agency resource centers beginning to open in different areas to provide resources and information to disaster survivors. This is on top of the disaster recovery centers that FEMA will open. For information on all of these resources, the best place to go is floridadisaster.org/updates for those locations. As we see rivers continue to rise in some areas, please stay out of standing water, as it can pose a significant health risk and contain harmful bacteria, displace wildlife, and can be deeper than what you may think. Assistance is available to residents who receive damages from Milton. Residents can start to apply for FEMA disaster assistance at disasterassistance.gov, downloading the FEMA app, or calling 1-800-621-FEMA, or that's 1-800-621-3362. Please make sure that if you are applying for Milton, you keep this application separate from applying for Helene or Debbie. Again, I think it's very, very important for residents to know, we cannot say this enough, if you're in your Helene recovery with FEMA, talk only about Helene. When you're in Debbie, only talk about Debbie. When you're in Milton, only talk about Milton. If you reference one or the other in the same application, it will most likely get kicked out and sent for what's referred to as an RFI, or request for information, and it will only delay you getting money. So again, keep them separate. Talk about them as individual storms, not as holistic storms. If you have received some significant flood damage, ensure that your electricity is off and that you're wearing appropriate safety gear while you're doing that repair around your home. More information on mucking and gutting is available at Florida's Hurricane Guide section in floridadisaster.org/guide. Some safety recovery tips. Please remember that all of these recovery fatalities are 100% preventable. So please make sure that you exercise generator safety, that you use safety gear when you're doing debris cleanup. And then again, if you have no business doing any of the cleanup because of your age or some type of disability, please call us. We will send a volunteer organization to you to help you out. It can be done through it can be done through Hope Florida. It can be done by calling 1-833-GET-HOPE. It can also be done by calling Crisis Cleanup at 844-965-1386. Remember, volunteer organizations are free. They will not charge you. If anybody is out there trying to charge you and says they need cash up front, tell them to beat feet. Get out of there. They are not doing anything that's going to help you. They're going to try to take advantage of you. Before you hire anyone, you also can check that person's contractor license at myfloridalicense.com. Again, the state assistance information line is open up 24 hours a day. That's 1-800-342-3557. That's 1-800-342-3557. There are English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole speakers available for you. Now, I know I've given out a lot of links and a lot of information today, but again, I'll recap the biggest things that you need to know. floridadisaster.org/updates. They could go and get all of the information. The best way to get it, and for the up-to-the-minute information, is to follow us at FLSERT on Facebook, on Instagram and X, and then at FDEM on Facebook. Again, thank you, Governor, for your continued leadership, and for the agency heads that are here, again, thank you for your collaboration and support as well.
Okay.
Governor.
Garrett.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. Really proud of what we've been able to accomplish thus far. FDOT has been working around the clock since before Hurricane Milton made landfall to get our communities recovered and back to normal. Really appreciate the Governor's leadership and the partnership with the Division of Emergency Management, the Florida National Guard, and all the other state agencies that have marshaled every available resource to get people back to normal. We at FDOT have been working diligently to restore all of the transportation infrastructure within our communities. Our bridge inspectors have completed inspections on over 2,400 local and state bridges since Milton made landfall. 97% of our traffic signals are back operational. We still have a few left that we need to work on that sustained pretty significant damage, but we've deployed over 500 generators to supply power to traffic signals so that people can move around while power is being restored. Within 24 hours of landfall, our cut and toss crews cleared 100% of state roads, totaling over 12,000 miles. Now we are transitioning our efforts, our focus, and our energy to debris removal. And again, the governor has shown really strong leadership here in making sure we're bringing the resources to the table to get the debris removed. Picking up debris after a storm is a big part of getting our communities back to normal. We at FDOT are very committed to that. Also yesterday, the governor announced he was marshaling 2,800 personnel across FDOT, the Florida National Guard, the Florida State Guard, to an urban search and rescue to come in and remove debris, have a 24/7 operation so that we can optimize and capitalize off of the 90-day 100% reimbursement window. This is a team effort with our counties and local governments and municipalities. I'm calling on all of you, please mobilize, activate your contractors and debris vendors. This is your opportunity to do it. Counties and local governments are responsible for debris on local roads. Because of the governor's leadership and thanks to Kevin Guthrie, you have 90 days of 100% reimbursement. Let's get it going. And also really appreciate DEM rolling out the new tool to collect data based on debris removal and update that in a portal so that we can see transparency and see the progress on the debris that's being picked up. We've been in very close coordination with our airports and seaports. Sarasota Bradenton International Airport did sustain a lot of damage. In speaking with their CEO earlier today, they do plan to reopen their main terminal building on Wednesday. They've been moving fast and furious to make repairs to their main terminal building. In terms of seaports, you heard from the governor, both Port Tampa Bay and Seaport Manatee have been moving fuel. They've moved thousands of trucks. It's really good to see how fast they recovered and got that fuel moving again. But as you heard here at Seaport Manatee specifically, they sustained an estimated $200 million plus in damage from Hurricane Milton. It's something very difficult to recover from. Our seaports are absolutely vital to our communities, not only moving fuel into our communities, but also with construction materials to help them recover, and also perishables and vegetables and the things you get in the grocery store. So it's absolutely paramount that we get our seaports back up and running as quickly as possible, which is why I'm really thankful for the governor's leadership. We're here today to announce $9.5 million to do just that. FDOT is going to be contributing $5.5 million for emergency dredging in state waters, and also for emergency berth repairs so we can get this seaport back up and running. Also, under the governor's direction, we're going to be bringing our project management, our technical expertise, our project delivery expertise to help it be seamless and make it move as quickly as possible to get this seaport back to normal operations. Remember, if you're traveling, if you need information, you're going back and forth into the damage area, FL511.com is the place to get most up-to-date traffic information. We're updating that site live through our traffic management centers. It is the most accurate, the most up-to-date information, FL511.com. Again, Governor, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I really appreciate you all being here, and particularly to the governor and the state of Florida and my Port Authority, for their support in rebuilding this port bigger and better in the coming years. And that's not a choice, that's a mandate. It's a mandate because of the growing population of Florida and our region in particular. Those supplies, fuel and food, need to come through here. They need to come through Florida ports. And this support from the state will help us accelerate that to make sure that we're not getting our supplies from other states where those tractor trailers having to go right through Florida just to get us those basic supplies. Just to give you an example, the Port Authority yesterday and our chairman, Kevin Van Ostenbridge, were really instrumental in getting the fuel flowing. We had a dead terminal. As the governor said, we don't own the terminal. It's a private terminal, but the county was instrumental, and emergency management of the county, in getting them running quickly, to the extent that we even supplied pumps, water pumps, to de-water their containment ponds to get that fuel flowing. And since yesterday, where we started running again about 3 a.m., the expectation was that it might be another 4 or 5 days if we didn't help that terminal operator with additional resources. And the county, I think, really thank them for their support. This additional funding from the state will really make all the difference also in getting us going. I mean, just to give an example, since yesterday, where we were able to get the terminal up and running, they did an additional 300,000 gallons of fuel. But to put that in context, 300,000 gallons of fuel is 20,000 cars. It's not a small amount, and we continue to grow that because we are that Southwest and Central Florida fuel port that we all need and really now recognize as a critical infrastructure. You know, we're also a critical infrastructure for food. On any given day, this port handles the products and the vegetables and perishables and the lumber that you buy. But again, to put it in context, it's really a big number, and this is thanks to our partners at Del Monte. They move about 2.3 million bananas a day. We do 1.2 billion a year. That's 2.3 million bananas a day. And I can tell you one thing, the supermarkets do not want to run out of bananas. Before storm or after a storm, that's one of the first staples people buy because it has a shelf life. And this port, along with other commodities, is instrumental in maintaining not just the fuel chain, but the food chain. And really critical, you know, as our secretary said, that it keeps flowing and moving. And that's why, again, we appreciate so much, Governor, your assistance here. We also had to overcome, as the governor said, the strike that was upcoming, but here we were able not to be affected by the strike. Had the strike gone on beyond what they did, which was only a few days, it could have been significant disruption and would have caused this port even to even handle more cargo to maintain the supply chain. So we overcame that. 2 hurricanes. You know, I mean, we can't choose our hurricanes, but we can choose how we respond to the hurricanes. And resiliency, I know the state of Florida is one of the key objectives, and the ports go through resiliency and coordination with FDOT and emergency management to make sure that when something like this happens, we recover as quickly as possible and be online as quickly as possible. And that's our objective. Because we realize this port impacts the daily lives of the residents of Florida. You know, again, the port is operating almost normal. The fuel is flowing. The perishables are coming on, and the team effort that was made between the county, the county commission, and the Port Authority was really instrumental. I want to thank also the county's team that's here now that helped us throughout, and the staff at the county, as well as our customers and suppliers, which are here already, that are handling the products. Because without them, you know, we're just infrastructure with water next to it. I believe with this support from the government and the state of Florida, we'll be able to resume full operations shortly. We have some contingency plans. But again, we're only as good as the support of the leaders that have us. I would like for a few seconds to call up our chairman, Kevin Van Ostenbridge, to say a few words of what he personally did with the fuel to get it going again.
Carlos, you're the man. I would just thank, I don't know why, who needs this so high? I would thank the governor, his team, Secretary Perdue, Kevin Guthrie, and the county level, Jody Fisk, Courtney DePaul, Charlie Bishop, North River Fire. We even had a hazmat unit out here at one point. Everybody was all hands on deck, all of these folks and their teams of people below them who helped to get us back online. We were told 5 days was the timeline to get fuel going again, and with a collaborative effort of the state and the county and the port and fire, we had fuel flowing in 18 hours. And I'm incredibly proud of all of them. They did a fantastic job. Carlos's team as well. I mean, this port looks nothing like it did Friday when I first rolled out here. They've done a tremendous job, and we have the absolute best governor in the entire country. I cannot thank the governor enough. Coming in here with a check already, we're only a few hours into this, and he's already here with a check and helping us with security and helping us with dredging and all of the essentials that we need to get the port moving and get it back to full capacity. Thank you so much, Governor DeSantis. Thank you.
Okay. And we're happy to help. We've also, so since Milton, we've responded to requests in Manatee We've done 25 truckloads of water, 21 truckloads of MREs, 12 truckloads of tarps, a forklift for debris, food trailer, 52 generators, 30 additional Starlinks, 4 truckloads of ice, 100-plus crates for pet-friendly shelters, 14 ambulance strike teams for Manatee Memorial, 13 ambulance strike teams for HCA Blake Medical Center in Bradenton, and 2 medic helicopters. We also have points of distribution sites that are operating around the affected areas. The ones here in Manatee County are as follows: Pride Park in Bradenton, Parish United Methodist, Blackstone Park in Palmetto, Tom Bennett Park in Bradenton, Duet Fire, 35800 Florida 62, GT Bray Park in Bradenton, Ridgewood Plaza in Ellenton, and King Fish Boat Ramp in Holmes Beach. So we're happy to work those pods. Obviously, as electricity has come back, I saw seemed like most of the stores when we were driving up here were on. As you start to have all that stuff available, there'll be less need for pods, but we're happy to provide those pods in the intervening period, and we want everybody to get back up on their feet. But this will be good for the port. What we've done today, $9.5 million, we're happy to do that. We really appreciate how everyone from the port, the authority, the local government, and of course us supporting at the state level, we all want rapid restoration. And when these disasters happen, you kind of just put up your hands and just kind of say, oh, look at all this, what are we going to do? And I think in this case we're saying, okay, we got to figure it out, we got to get back. And so you've already got fuel that's flowing out of here when a lot of people didn't think that was going to be possible for perhaps several weeks. So thanks everybody that's been involved for that, and we'll continue to help make sure that we have a robust supply chain. Okay, any questions?
Governor, the other day you said something to the effect, or maybe the weekend, about that most filling stations, if not all, are mandated to supposed to have some sort of backup generators, so that when we get the product in there, in fact, they would accept it into the underground tanks. But finding some of them maybe have not done that or gotten away with not having those in place. Is that the case?
So I think the issue is that law was, I think, written, about 2017, 2018. And I think that it was written in a way that if you want to conduct your operations to not be covered by that, you can. So I think there's a lot of them that aren't, they're in kind of like a loophole. They've made it that way, and so they've done it. Now, there's others that did do generators. Kevin provided some generators for some who asked, but there were definitely some who didn't. Now, you do these situations. I mean, there were people, even in Sarasota and Manatee, who got power back, within 24 hours. Some of the stores did. I mean, I was at the Raleigh station. I think it was on the Friday after the storm. We were at Raleigh. Wawa was not, but Raleigh was. Now I think all the Wawas are open. So I don't think it was that they were violating it. I think probably they were nestled into a loophole on that, and that was just kind of the way that the law was written. We're going to look at that. Now, that was before I was governor. We'll look at that and see kind of, if anything needs to be addressed. But my sense is I think some of these stations, they reckon, because we pre-stage all these linemen, they're probably not going to be out for 2-3 weeks like maybe in the past. And so I think they think it's cheaper to maybe just kind of wait, because sometimes 24, 48, even, now we're like I said, less than 96 hours from the storm leaving the state. And you're now down to about 10% out in Manatee, maybe a little bit more than that, and a little less than 10% in Sarasota. And this is kind of like the main places that suffered the most significant direct impacts of the storm.
That was going to be my question. But first of all, kudos to everyone involved. Each storm brings out different challenges, so it must be a lot of effort trying to get everything going on stream. But looking at the initial restoration and the assessment, in addition to generator issues, is there anything else in this chain that you would say we need to take a look at? And maybe when the dust settles, we bring in legislation to tackle those issues. What else could we look at to kind of help us prevent being in this situation that we are, of course, knowing that every storm is different?
Well, I think, to have 2 in 2 weeks is quite a challenge. And I think that not only does that mean you've got to prepare for 2, respond to 2, a lot of the people that whether it's the folks locally responding, whether it's our state emergency management team, all levels, they've been going at this now for for over 3 weeks. I mean, this has just been nonstop 24/7. So that creates a lot of challenges. And, you know, it's not unprecedented to have 2 storms in that period of time. A lot of people may not know in the 1950s you had in 11 days 2 storms hit New England, believe it or not, 2 hurricanes hit New England. So this stuff can happen. It usually doesn't. So you just got to respond. But I think that people have really done a good job. And for us to have gotten the 50,000 plus linemen ready, which that no one's ever done that much before. They were bringing them in from California and Alberta. I saw these guys, these big Canucks are here helping us out. It was great. And that was hard anyways. But then when you consider there's still a lot of people without power in Georgia and North Carolina because of Hurricane Helene. We don't necessarily, I mean, the Helene got restored. They did 2.5 million restorations in rapid speed. But now you're in a situation, you know, to have over 4 million out. So to have those, I think that was really, really good. And so, you know, so you'll look and you'll see. We'll look at the generator issue. My sense is that you have to figure out, okay, how much do you want to be dictating from the state, or how much do you want to just work collaboratively on some of this stuff? And to say we're just going to mandate almost anything, I don't know that that's necessarily the best approach. I mean, the fact is these are private businesses. The fuel supply is a private sector. We are not Venezuela. It's private sector. We came in with millions of gallons of fuel to help supplement and to help people who needed to get gas, and that's why we have these fuel sites set up. But, you know, we just have to be careful before we're saying do this or do that. So we'll look at it. We'll see with the generator issue on the fuel. I know that the goal was to have those. We were willing to provide more generators, but I think the issue was, I think a lot of the gas stations were talking to the power companies, and they were within 48 hours was the timeline anyway. So by the time you bring a generator, you have to hook everything up, and that, you know, your lights can end up just coming on automatically as well. But yes, we will look at the generator issue.
Governor, do you currently have a plan to improve infrastructure, like getting more power lines underground?
So the question on undergrounding power lines, that's obviously not something that the state government does. Those are private investments that companies like FP&L and Duke and TECO make, and some of our co-ops make, you know, as they see fit. It is true on some of these storms, undergrounding lines may have less interruptions. That's not always true, but certainly with wind damage, it can be beneficial. But it's also the case if a company does a big capital project to invest in that, you know, you may see that reflected in your rates going up a little bit. And so not everyone wants to see that. So it's kind of making the decision, you know, do they want to propose that? And then are their customers wanting to pay for it? And I don't know how all the customers are going to feel about it, but that's basically something that is done with these private companies making the decisions about how to do it. I will say this, you know, you take a look at, and we'll get the full report probably in a couple days when we talk to more of these companies. But my sense is if you look at Ian, which was major, and then these two, my sense is that their infrastructure held up pretty doggone good, all things considered. You didn't see the same thing happen in some of these places in North Carolina. And I think it's just because in Florida there is an emphasis on making our infrastructure resilient, knowing we're going to face challenges, and we can't predict what's going to happen, but we know it will happen at some point. And to do that, so these things are built, the substations are raised. We did tiger dams in some areas. I know we did in St. Pete. I don't think it had any water with that. So you're putting tiger dams around some of the substations. I know we did the hospital in Helene with Manatee, and that worked too. So I think there's a lot of different approaches, but they have done more undergrounding in the last 20 years. That's not necessarily, I don't think the goal for them, and you'd have to ask each individual company, I don't think their goal is to necessarily have all underground, but when appropriate, I think they've done it. But it does cost money to do, And so if they're assuming those costs, most likely they would try to pass that on in the form of higher utility rates. Now, our utility rates are much lower than like a place like California because we don't have the green mandates, and we basically say we want affordable and reliable, and people are allowed to produce whatever energy is appropriate. But having said that, I mean, how much have things gone up over the last 3 or 4 years? You know, people don't want to see that. So I think that'll be an issue. We usually, when we do storms, the run-of-the-mill debris, that's under local contract, county contract, and due. Now, we came in and helped in kind of an emergency situation pre-Milton because we were concerned with the Helene debris, but we did over 40,000 cubic yards in 72 hours working around the clock. So it shows this can be done first. But even with that, even with us usually recognizing this is a local function, the state has helped with marine debris removal. And so we'll continue to help with marine debris removal. I know, Kevin, you guys are working in North Florida too.
It's already under contract in Sarasota. The contractor's on site.
So you're already in contract in Sarasota. Contractors on site, and we'll be doing that. And so that's great. And then I announced yesterday this additional push for debris. We're going to be putting in some of our assets, National Guard. We're putting in FDOT when appropriate. I mean, FDOT's got to build roads, and they have a lot of ongoing projects, so we don't want to stop that. We want to keep that going because we need that, and Florida needs that. But if I have some guardsmen, some of these engineering battalions that can help clear the debris, we can even use our state guard, some of our other state assets that can be used to take advantage of this 90 days. We're going to do it. We're also setting up now a debris removal portal that people can go look and see how much has your city removed in debris, how much has your county removed in debris, and you can chart that progress. Because I think that from a financial perspective, you want to get it done in 90 days if at all possible. Look, some hurricanes, it may not be physically possible, but I could say in almost every hurricane I've seen around the country, the debris takes longer than it should. And that's partially because of bureaucracy, part of because, you know, if the debris is just sitting there, there's other problems people look at. I get it. But we got 100% reimbursement that was approved by the president. We got to take advantage of that, and the sooner we do it, the better it'll be financially, and then the better it is for everybody. Great quality of life. You're going to have people, they're going to be coming down here soon. They're going to be able to see, you go out, we were just at Bradenton Beach, some of these other areas, they got hit twice. You know, let's move to get that debris out of there. And then it's going to be a great place to go in no time. Like there will be a very quick bounce back. I feel that. But I think this debris. So water debris, yes. Sarasota, we're already on it. And then we're going to be doing more on other debris because we know it's important. Okay, thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, over here?